Come on, let's go on a journey. Sit back, buckle up, enjoy the ride with Crystal Petry Consulting.
Hello, I'm Crystal Petry, and welcome to another episode of the Crystal Petry Podcast. Today, we are going to learn all about what your district clerk does. I'm going to learn what mine does as well. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, make sure you subscribe to my podcast right now. And here to educate me, Jamie Smith. How are you, Jamie?
Fantastic. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much for agreeing to be on.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And I'm just going to be honest. I know we talked about this before we got on the podcast, but I have no idea what a district clerk does. So I'm excited to have you on to educate me about that. So obviously my first question is, what does a district clerk do?
Okay. Well, we provide services for the courthouse, of course.
Okay.
We handle the felonies in the criminal side. We handle the bigger civil cases. All that funnels through our office. And besides that, unfortunately, we handle divorces. But the good thing, we do adoptions. We deal with juveniles. I'm also the jury manager. And one of the things that I started when I got elected to this office was we're also now processing passports, because I promised to bring new revenue into the county, and that's what we've been doing. And I also promised to save some money. So we used to have the old jury call. You go downstairs and you sit there with 300 or 400 people, and you wait till your name is called and you assign to court. And then you may be there that Monday, or you have to come back Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. So we started taking a survey, because I wanted to update. That's kind of old. We started doing a survey of seeing if the constituents, if the people here were interested in updating the jury system, doing it a little differently. And it was like 80%, 86, 87, like, yeah, we want something new, something different, something a little bit more convenient. And so we started doing research, and at one of our conferences, I spoke with someone that was newly elected, that came in the same time with me, the District Clerk for Travis County, and they use what they call iJury. And so I talked to her, and she goes, hey, we'll give you the bones of it. You can have your MIS department build the meat to it and form it to fit your county. So I said, that's a fantastic idea, and they charge us a grand whopping $10 a year for that service.
What?
Yeah. While other counties get jury systems, they paying $300,000, $400,000 for it. We got it for $10 a year. Of course, some of the IVR and the callback and stuff like that, it's cost, but overall per year the cost is like $5,000 for everything. And it's a convenience, because now we'll summon you directly to that court. So you'll get an email, you get a text, you get a phone call, whatever you put in the information, you'll be able to sign up on your smartphone. You can sign up on your computer. Or if you're not, for the older generation, more mature, you can call us in and we'll sign you over the phone. Mm-hmm. So now you're assigned directly to a court. And the good thing about that is you could go on, and it allows you to pick out your days that you can. Well, I have a doctor's appointment this day, my family's on vacation this day, I have a conference right here. And then the system will automatically assign you to a court that's convenient for the dates that you put in that you're available.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's been saving the county about $100,000 a year now.
Oh, so I know they love you. Okay, so let's talk about a few of the things that you spoke about. You help the court with felonies. So how does that work?
Okay, well, what happens is every Wednesday we have a grand jury that meets upstairs, and they come in at 8 o'clock, and they'll meet until they finish with indictments. So the attorney will present them, Attorney Nealon will present them with the various indictments that have come in. They'll process the indictments. They'll either true bill it, which means they think, yes, this does need to go to court, or they'll no bill it, saying there's not enough evidence for it to proceed to court. And a lot of people have probably seen this on TV with, the grand jury meeting. But that's what they do. And at that time, the indictments, the ones that they true bill, the indictments will come down through the system. We'll process the indictments. If they're already incarcerated, they'll be in jail. If they're not incarcerated, then a warrant will be issued and things like that. And then the process starts with that, with being assigned a case number and assigned a judge who's going to see it.
And that's done through your office as district clerk.
Yes, that funnels down. But it's in a coordination with the DA's office, our office and the sheriff's department, because at the end when they're like out, they're not already incarcerated, the sheriff's department's going to put them into their warrant pickup system, and they'll go pick them up to arrest them for their current charges.
Okay, and you also said y'all assist with, I don't know if you assist or help with divorces. Okay, how does that work?
So that's one of our civil courts down in the old family court, in the old courthouse. So they'll either the attorneys will come in and file the paperwork for the divorces, and we have two family law judges, Judge Shelton and Judge Freeze, or we also have the people come in and file a pro se divorce, which means they're performing the divorce themselves, and it can be done on a piece of paper they could download from texaslaw.help. And so usually in those pro se divorces, you're not fighting over any property. Everything has been settled, so you're able to come in, you and your future ex-husband can come in and then fill out the paperwork, file it, and then the necessary time take place, and then the divorce is granted. If it's a contested divorce and they have to go to trial, then you could pick either a jury trial or you can allow the judge to make the decision. With kids involved and things like that, it runs into a whole lot of extra things that could take place. If there's a battle over the custody of the children, you'll have to get an ad litem attorney who's just looking out for the benefit of the children, see where their best go. Of course, that lengthens out the divorce proceedings. But really, when COVID hit, I guess people living with one another, being around each other so much, our divorce numbers skyrocketed.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, even though the courthouse was closed, but we were still here working. So people would bring in their pro se divorce papers downstairs, put them in a box that we had. Then we would go down and pick them up and take them down to family law, and they'll start processing them. And then at that time, the judge started granting an automatic. If it's a pro se, then within 60 days, the divorce was complete. They didn't have to keep coming back down because due to COVID.
Outside of COVID, do you see a lot of pro se divorces?
Yes.
Really? I would think divorces are messy.
Not all of them. Some of them are. It's usually when it's not involving children. I know it's a bad time for both people, but sometimes they could put everything aside, like this is just not working, and so they'll come and file the pro se divorce. And then do it that way. I mean, they both sign off, and 60 days, it's
done.
It's done.
Oh, okay. And good news, you also do adoptions here.
Correct.
Okay, so how does that work?
We handle all the adoptions that come in, either through CPS or things like that, where people are adopting the children. And we also have a National Adoption Day, which is coming up next month. And on that,
in November,
and it's down there, and they really do a beautiful job for the families because they always have a theme. One year, because the judges take turns doing it. One year, the judges were the Grinch. The whole thing dressed up like the Grinch.
Oh,
they do different themes, and it's really, really nice. They make it great for the kids, great for the new families, and I waive our fees on that day as as a way of showing support for the National Adoption Day. We waive all our court fees for that.
Now, what exactly does your office as district clerk do with adoptions? Do the parents have to come here and fill out paperwork?
Yeah, we handle. We're I guess you could say we're a funnel or a funnel for all the paperwork that's processed, because we handle all the paperwork that comes in from adoptions, from juveniles, from divorces, from criminal cases, from felony cases. If you're behind on your taxes at your house, the tax assessor files a paperwork through Lineberger and Grogan, and then we process that paperwork and things like that. So we're the middleman. I guess you could say we're pretty much the middleman in everything that happens in the courthouse for felonies. Now, the county clerk's office, they have their duties besides elections and things like that. They handle the misdemeanors, they support county court at law number 1, 2, and 3. We support all the district courts and the family law courts.
Y'all do a lot here.
Yeah, it keeps you busy.
Wow, I had no idea what, and the thing is, it never even occurred to me to think like what goes on here. You know, I just go about my day.
Right.
And then Chief White, our firefighter chief in Beaumont, Texas, was like, you should interview Jamie Smith. They do so much over there. And at that point, I was like, what? Like, what do they do? Okay, so this is an elected office, correct?
Correct. Every 4 years, I run off presidential. So, you know, they got the presidents this year. So in 2 years, I'll be up for re-election.
Okay. And is there a term limit
No.
for district clerk? No, there's no term limit. So every 4 years you are up for re-election.
Correct.
When was your first time or first year being elected as district clerk?
2015.
2015. Why did you decide to run for election for this office?
Well, during that time, I was on Beaumont City Council, and I was working in the county clerk's office as her office administrator. So I thought with my background in politics and my education and also working in the court system down there, I thought I'd be a great candidate to run for this position. Since I'm already familiar with it, I thought all my qualifications tied in together, and to me, I would make a great district clerk, and so that's why I decided to run.
And I guess the people thought so too, because you won, and you keep winning.
Yes, thank you.
So congratulations on that. Now, one of the things we were talking about before we even started the podcast was you are a history maker in this office, correct?
Correct.
So explain that.
I'm the first African American elected to be the district clerk for Jefferson County in the county's history.
Wow. And then you were also stating, like, within the state of Texas, you're one of very few.
Yeah, there's very few African American clerks, period. You know, I think a total maybe 6 or 7 throughout Texas, and that's 400 and some positions.
Why do you think, I'm blown away about this. Why do you think so few African Americans, I don't know if they're running for this position or not, but why do you think so few African Americans are in this position?
I really don't know. I don't know if it's not a skill set that they're comfortable with, or, you know, I don't know. You know, it's hard to say why. I think if you have the knowledge and the skills and the desire to run for office, and it's a great undertaking, then you know you should go. You should run, no matter race, creed, or color. You should run and see. The reason why, I really don't know why there's not that many.
When you realized this, that you were the first African American here in Jefferson County, Texas, what was your thought? What was your feeling about that?
Well, I felt it was a great sense of accomplishment. I felt it was a great sense of moving forward with everything. You know, there always got to be a first for everything, but you want, after the first, you want things to, you know, to keep going. So I try to be a positive role model for other elected officials, for other people that are desiring to run for office. I have an open door policy. But I was honored. You know, it felt good. I really didn't realize that. My campaign manager is the one that told me. You know, she's like, "Hey, do you know you're the first African American elected to?" You know, when you're in the heat of elections, you know, you're just thinking of get my message across, meet as many people as I can, get out there, knock on doors, and pray that God's blessing me with winning this election. And thanks to God's blessings, I did.
Now, one of the things I was thinking about, and I'm just gonna go back a little bit. You were saying during your campaigning you wanted to save the court costs, and you've actually done that. So it's very few, I'm not going to say very few, but we know politicians, a lot of times when they're campaigning, they make these promises. Once they're elected, sometimes they don't fulfill those promises. But you were able to fulfill those promises, and I feel like also garner trust in the community. What do you think about that?
Well, that was my goal, is not only, you know, when you know, I wanted it to narrow down to, you know, 4 things that we could do, or several things that we could do inside the office to make the office better. And that's, you know, what I ran on. And so once I got blessed with winning the election, my goal then was to accomplish those things as soon as possible to show that, you know, I'm just not shooting hot air, you know, I'm going to actually follow up on. And so really within 2 years, 3 years of being in, I accomplished everything that I had said I was going to do. We updated the jury system. We brought in new revenue for the county. We modernized the office. And then we got the office involved in not just government work, but I believe in being a part of the community. And so we volunteered for various things, Relay for Life, things with the Needland Chamber. I'm a member of Rotary, back to school supply drives, Senior Citizens Appreciation Day. Anything that people approach us on and we're able to help with, that's what we try to help with. We got an upcoming project, I think it's this weekend. We're helping China.
China in Texas?
Yes.
Okay.
We're helping them do a cleanup out there. So I saw it. One of the ladies that works in my office, she is a council member on their city council out there, and she was like, "Hey, would you mind if I post this for this food drive?" And I read, I'm like, "Well, I'm going to call and see if they'll like us to volunteer." So we're going to volunteer and help with the cleanup. We're collecting food and things like that to give out. So, it's not all about just being government work. It's important for us to reach out into the community and show that we're here and we're here to assist in any way that we possibly can.
Okay. And as a district clerk, do you only cover the county?
Yes.
Okay, so how many cities within that county do you cover?
Beaumont, Port Arthur, Port Neches, Groves, Needland, China, Nome, Fannette, Hampshire, Cheek. I think that's it.
Okay.
Port Acres, yeah.
So any felonies, adoptions, divorces within those cities all come through you?
Correct.
How many people do you have working with you to make this happen?
Yeah, I have 32 coworkers.
32. Yeah, because that's a lot.
Yeah, 32 coworkers. And, we're busy, now with e-filing. Back in the day, well, not that far back in the day, but they would have to come in and, you would hand deliver all your cases that you would file, and you have to get it stamped with the correct date and all that. But now it's electronic, so everything comes in through the computer, but we have to process it to make sure that it's okay, that the paper is correct and meets the standards that it's supposed to meet. If it's not, then we will reject it and send it back to the attorneys or wherever to make the corrections and send it back and funnel through us. So, the onset of technology has helped out a lot, but it's still, you have to go through and make sure the paperwork is correct and things like that.
Are any of your coworkers, are those elected positions? No. Okay, so those are just hired positions. Are you the person that hires everyone? Okay. Let's talk about the qualifications to be district clerk. I know it's an elected position, but what are the qualifications, legal and otherwise, if somebody wants to be district clerk?
Well, you don't have to have a legal degree,
Really?
You don't have to have a legal degree.
Do you have to have a college degree?
You don't have to have a college degree. You got to be an eligible voter. 18
and
years.
That's it?
And that's it. And you can run for the office.
At 18 years old, somebody can become district clerk?
Correct.
What?
Correct.
Wow. Okay. Continue.
Just got to have a desire for service,
Yes.
And I tell anybody that's thinking about running for an office, I said, hey, before you run, go work on somebody's campaign. Make sure that you're involved in the community. Make sure people see you, and you can get a taste for what it is. If there's an office that you're interested in running for, if somebody is leaving, go ask them to shadow them for a few days or whatever, so you can see kind of what happens in their office, see what the real requirements are besides what's stated in your district clerk book or your county clerk book or your tax assessor book, just to see. And like I said, the main thing is just have a love for service. That's the main thing. Have a love for service, because think, oh, it's a government job and you get paid well. Not really. You gotta. You get a nice salary, but you have to have a desire for service. You got to be willing to give back to the community that's given you so much.
Right. Okay, so you have to be at least 18, a registered voter. Can you not be a registered voter and still?
No, you have to be a registered voter.
You have to be. Okay, so you have to be 18, you have to be a registered voter, and have a heart for service.
That's the main thing, is have a heart for service. That's the most important. Because if you're getting into it just to say, oh, I'm this person, you're not going to do a good job at it, and you probably won't be there long anyway.
Right. And people will be able to see through that.
Correct.
They will be able to see through that. What about, do you have to live in one of the cities
You have to live be a resident of Jefferson County.
And how long? Like lifelong, 5 years?
No, it's 6 months. 6 months, I think.
6 months, that's it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, one of the things that you said is you have to have a heart for service. What else outside of, 18, registered voter, do you think people need as far as characterized to be in this leadership position?
Well, you need to have integrity, morals. I mean, because you're handling, you have vast amounts of funds that are coming in from civil lawsuits and minor accounts and things like that. So, I mean, you really have, like I said, before you run, you need to have a knowledge of the job. And like I said, one of the reasons I decided to run was, on City Council of Beaumont from 2007 to 2014. I was working in the county clerk's office in 2005 until I won this election as our office administrator. So that gave me a lot of background and a lot of knowledge of what to expect when I come into this office, even though the functions are different, but the basic meat of it is management of your personnel and things like that, and your budget.
And what is your thought on management and leadership?
Well, I think you should be the type of leader that's compassionate, be the type of leader that's understanding, be the type of leader that knows that there's life that exists outside these walls. Understand that there's situations for your coworkers and things that they have to deal with outside of these walls. So, like I said, just be compassionate, open-minded, and willing to listen and willing to take criticism. Because I tell them all the time, I'm not the smartest person. If we're doing something that you think you could, you know how to do better, let's try it. If it doesn't work, we go back. No, nobody's upset, nothing done. If it doesn't work, we go back. If it does work, man, we found a better way to do, whatever that procedure is.
Okay. Since you are over the jury selection, correct? What do you look for when it comes to selecting jurors?
Well, see, the great thing about it is that the system's going to do it. They log into the system. Of course, if you have a felony, you can't serve on the jury. But they ask several questions. I know some people say, "Oh man, why they ask me so many questions?" And the reason is because for some of the civil cases, some of the attorneys want a background on you for when they are getting ready to prepare for court. So we hand them when it's like 3 days to go for a trial, we hand them a court pack so they can look through what jurors were selected, look through their background, if they answered all those questions, look through their background, look at their life experiences. So when they're doing voir dire, when they're actually sitting there with the jury trying to dwindle it down from 48 to 12 or 48 to 13 with an alternate, they already have some idea of that potential juror's background. So that's the main thing. And, we encourage people, jury duty is like voting. It's your civic duty. You should get out there. And I know a lot of people are busy and sometimes it's inconvenience. But I always say, what if that was your family member that was killed and they're suing, this company and no one showed up for jury duty? How would you feel? But we always encourage people. We got some people that love to serve. They wish they could just sign up and say, I wish I could, but that's against the law.
Yeah.
But they just like, hey, I'll do jury duty every day.
Wow.
But one of the things that recently happened, we increased the amount that we pay. So
I was going to ask you, do jurors get paid?
They get paid $20 the first day and then $58 every day after. And that was an increase. So that kind of helps pop up some of the numbers.
Right. So was that something that came from you as district clerk, increase?
That came from the state.
Okay.
Yeah, it came from the state.
And what was it before?
It was $6 the first day and 20 something.
Oh, wow, that's almost double.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That is good. That is good. Okay, so since you work so closely with judges and lawyers, how familiar must you be with the law and regulations?
Well, the main thing that we deal with is making sure that the documents that they file are correct. So via them coming in with documentation or them e-filing it through the computer system, reviewing the documentation. And we try to have a good relationship with the judges and with the attorneys. That way it just makes the working easier when you have a good rapport with them anyway. So after we check the documents and things like that, if it's correct, it's followed through, it goes through the process. And I always talk to the attorneys and say, hey, if there's something that we're not doing that we need to do better or anything like that, let us know, and we can sit down and talk about it and make any adjustments that we need to help with the process.
And what about compliance? How do you ensure that the paperwork and everything that's been sent to you from the lawyers and the judges are correct?
Well, we have standards that we have to follow through JCIT and OCA. So when and our co-workers are trained on those various standards in each department. Like we have a felony department, then we have a civil department, we have a records manager, and then we have a family law down there. So each of those are trained in that particular area to understand the paperwork, address it, and see what's in compliance or not in compliance. And when it's not, then they reject the filing and they send it back to the attorney. And we just don't reject it and just send it back. We reject it and then give them a reason why.
Okay.
Hey, it's not correct because of this. You've stated an exhibit, there's no exhibit that exists. Or you just sent through an exhibit and we don't have an order for it, anything like that. So that's how we do to work with the attorneys.
Whenever you are, and this is it just popped in my head, whenever you are watching like the Law and Order and How to Get Away with Murder, like series, they never talk about the district clerk.
Well, because
never.
We're just mainly, like I said, we're mainly the middleman in that process. So,
but a very important part.
Oh yeah, of course, very important.
Yes.
So really, when you see them talk about grand jury, that's district clerk. When you see them show up in court and they have all the documentation and everything there for them to get to court, that's through us. So we're there. We're the unseen heroes of some of those shows.
We need to get y'all on the show. We need to get y'all on the show so people will know more about you.
Yeah, well,
no one knows about district clerk until this podcast. Now we know. We know.
The main things I tell you what people know us for, unfortunately, divorces, adoptions, jury duty, and passports.
Okay.
That's the main thing, especially jury duty and passports.
Mm-hmm.
So since we started doing passports, it's just been crazy.
Who was doing passports before this office?
The post office.
The post office.
Right, but the district clerk, we are allowed in our manual, in our guide, that we could issue passports. And I saw that, I'm like, and we're not doing it. I'm like, that's untapped revenue for the county. Mm-hmm. And so we, when I got into office, sent off the application and started doing the process of getting an acceptance place here. And so we did that, and I think the funny thing is we started doing passports on April 1st, April Fool's Day. And so, during that first time, we were getting maybe 10 in a month. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden that's grown. We're getting 10 to 15 in a day. And so with the high demand, we started doing passport Saturdays. So on 2 Saturdays out the year, we open up from 9 to 2, and we have one coming up November the 16th. We open up from 9 to 2 for you to come in on a Saturday and process your passport. And that's mainly for people with children and people that work 8 to 5 during the weekday that can't come in and get a passport done. And that's been pretty successful. We've been averaging 300 to 400 people show up on those passport Saturdays.
That is so good. Does the post office still do passports?
They still do them, but they send them to us.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of them send them to us.
What? Oh my goodness.
See, with the post office, unfortunately, the passport customer is not their priority. Their priority is mail. So if you have a passport customer in there and someone comes in and do the mail, they have to leave the passport customer alone to go ahead and complete the mail, and then they go back to the passport customer. Mm-hmm. But here you just come see us and we're going to take care of you.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, so how do you keep up with, and how does your coworkers keep up with the constant changes of the lawyers and the judges and everything that comes along with that?
Well, the main thing that we have to keep up with is the various changes in laws and things like that, how things are processed, what they expect, especially when reporting our cases back to OCA. But through schools, the conferences and things like that, that's how we keep updated. And every 2 years, like next year, 2025, the House and them will meet. Legislature will meet, and so there'll be some changes that's going to come down the pike next September. So we'll go to our various conferences, and inside our thing we have a County and District Clerk Association of Texas, and so we have a legislative committee, and so they'll start studying those bills as they're going, and they'll say, hey, we need to put this one out to help support, contact your congressman or senator and ask them to, push this bill, because it needs help. This is something that we want to change and things like that. But, through classes and education, that's how, and the various conferences that we attend, that's how we're able to keep up with everything. And then plus they send information out, and we have a blog we call our listserv. So you'll have county and district clerks on there asking questions or, giving scenarios and asking anyone if they've been in that scenario or what would they do about this, or what's learned. And that's a great help. You learn almost as much from the networking than you do the class itself, because you can always come across a new interesting situation, I put it that way, that you've never seen before. And so one way to deal with that, we go on our listservs and we'll type it in, and if one of the other clerks has seen it, they'll send us a message, hey, this is what I did, or give me a call and I explain it and things like that. We're a good family where we try to help one another out.
It's like a fraternity.
Kind of. Yeah, kind of.
Okay, so what role do you play as the district clerk in administering oaths and affirmations in court proceedings?
Well, in court proceedings, now, every 4 years, when I get elected, and I'm up, and if I keep winning, I hope, I then have to re-swear all the clerks in.
Okay.
I give my oath, deputize them, as to
By
say.
clerks, you mean?
My coworkers.
Okay.
Yeah, deputize them. And then also in the courts, I deputize those clerks over there. So in the court proceedings, the clerks over there handle all that. Since they're deputized by me, they handle all that. So they'll be the ones doing the swearing in, and they handle things like that, the appointment dates and calendar dates and court dates for their respective judges.
How often do you do that swearing in?
Every 4 years.
So every 4 years you go through and swear in?
Yeah, they'll come and we have all the the forms printed out, and we swear in if there's any new employees and things like that. But we deputize and swear them in and sign the paperwork, and so they're legal to do it and do what they need to do in the system.
What's the point of that? Once they're hired, can't they just start doing the work?
Well, once they're hired, they have to be deputized in order to do the work, because they're going to have a seal and they sign their name. In the laws, it says deputy clerk, so they have to be deputized to do that.
Okay. Do they have to take any test or anything?
No. We simply, if we have a new hire, depending on what section they're in, we'll put them in a section, put them in a training, teach them how to, start with the little things and gradually increase the things that they know, are trained and accustomed to, and then they go from there.
Let's talk about court records. If someone wants to request court records or court documents, do they come through you for
Yes.
that? Okay, and what is that process?
Well, that's an opens record request. They could do that. They'll email it in to our email address, or sometimes straight to myself or my chief deputy, and then we send it to our legal department to make sure that it's something that we can give them as an open records request, and then we'll proceed from there. We generally have 10 days in order to respond to get them those records, either with yes, we can give it to you, or no, we cannot, and this is the reason why. But yeah, people come in all the time for a copy, especially when they come in, because we do criminal background checks on the felony level for the county. So sometimes people come in and they may have had a felony that was adjudicated, deferred, or is no longer taken off, and they'll come request their criminal records. So that's just walking in, showing your ID, and giving us your information. We'll go into the AS400 or onto Odyssey and see what your criminal history is and print it out for you. And if they want anything else, some of the attorneys come in, they request records through our records management department. They'll go pull the records. Old divorces, a lot of people retiring, and they're getting ready to get their Social Security. They may have to have a certified copy of their divorce or things like that, so we provide them with that. Yeah.
If someone has a felony, do they come here to see if they can vote?
If you have a felony, that's going to be through the tax assessor's office.
Okay.
They handle all voter registration. While the county clerks handle elections, the tax assessor handles voter registration.
Okay.
And so they would vet that person to see
If they can vote.
if they're eligible to be a voter.
And how are elections handled through your court?
Elections are handled in the county clerk's office.
Okay.
Yeah. That's one of her duties is elections.
Okay. So let's talk more about court records. How do you manage and archive court records? And is there a cutoff, like after 20 years you shred everything?
No.
Okay.
The now that we're pretty much 100% electronical, it's easier now because whatever's on the computer is going to automatically be saved, and it's saved in several places in the cloud, to be redundant just in case something happens. But for the older court records, we're constantly scanning those in and digitizing those to save them. If the court records are really bad or bad condition, a lot of times we send them off to CoFile or a company like that could restore. So we have some historical stuff that had to be restored. We have books and they restore the documentation, fix it where you can, it may be torn or weathered or things like that, and they'll be able to fix it pretty much like brand new, pretty close to brand new. So some of that stuff is outsourced to companies like CoFile to do.
Okay. So the records in your office are never gotten rid of or destroyed?
No.
How far do the records go back? Do you know?
Go all the way back to 1800s.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Do you go back and read?
Some is pretty interesting.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, some of you read some of the older records where, way back when Beaumont was just started this area, it would be a theft of a cow or something like that.
Yes.
So some of it's pretty interesting.
Yes. Okay, what is the process for you to certify legal documents and things like that?
Well, if they need to be certified, right now, but back in the day, we would, take a stamp and hand stamp it.
Mm-hmm.
But now, through our program of Odyssey, if we click the button, click it, poop, to certify it, it'll automatically certify the document by putting a name or a date on the bottom of it.
Do people have to pay, like if they request court
Extra.
documents, if they want something certified, they have to pay for
They
that?
pay an extra $5 plus $1 per page
Okay.
to get it certified. But when it's Social Security and things like that, we just give those to them. We don't charge them for that. When it's for another government entity, we don't charge them.
Okay. So if
for
it's
veterans,
personal.
if it's personal, yes. But if it's for another government entity, we don't charge.
Okay, excellent. How do you handle requests for public records with like HIPAA and all these other privacy laws?
Well, a lot of things right now with the filings, we'll have the original document that comes in, and then if it's something that needs to be redacted, if they have personal information on their social security number, date of birth, things like that, we'll have a real copy that's sealed, and then we have a redacted copy that's available for the public. But where the request comes in, the person may email and say, hey, I'd like to request records from boom, boom, boom. So like I said, after we get that request, we'll send it to our legal department in the DA's office for them to check, make sure, okay, yes, that's fine. And then we'll contact MIS department to get that package together, whatever they're requesting, those documents.
Is that a fee?
Yes.
Okay, that's also a fee. Okay, what kind of training or continuing education do you have to, or do you have training, continuing education?
Yeah. We're required by state law to have 20 hours continuing education each year for the district clerk. And so a lot of times when we have those conferences and things like that, we'll look on there, what's on the agenda, and so we'll bring myself, my chief deputy, and a couple other people to attend the conference. If it's like, it could be heavy on criminal this year, felony stuff, so we'll bring some people from the felony department, or it could be heavy on civil or family law or records management, so we'll bring them along with us to get that training. Because it's one thing you going and then you come back to regurgitate the training to them, but it's another thing when their supervisor, another coworker that's inside that department goes and because they're able to ask other kinds of questions that we may not, think of asking. So it's always good to try to bring as many people as we can to those conferences to educate them, to keep them up with what's going on and things like that.
And you get all 20 of your hours at those conferences?
Yes, we have a winter conference that takes place in January. Then we usually have a summer conference that takes place around June, and that's statewide. And then you also have regional conferences, like I'm in Region 7. So you have regional conferences that take place also during the year. So throughout that process, you're able to you can almost get all your hours at the winter conference, pretty close to it.
Okay. There is so much like personal and private information that flows through your office.
A whole lot.
As district clerk, how do you hire with that in your mind?
Well, one, we make sure we vet the people that we're hiring. It's always good to have someone with a legal background so they already kind of know, or someone had dealt with confidential records before. But once you're hired, you sign. I have a form. You sign a confidentiality form. Saying that you will not talk about any records or things like that that you see outside of the office. If there's a case that comes in and you know the person, you to inform us of the case, who it is, that you know them, and then we'll make sure that you do not handle any of that paperwork because we don't want to think that there's any kind of collusion that's going on, or preferential treatment that's being given. So, but yeah, we take that very seriously about confidentiality because you get a lot of people can get in trouble because we have medical records come through, especially with divorces and things like that, where you have the children's name, the children's date of birth, the children's social security number. You have a lot of critical information that's on there, and sometimes the attorneys forget to put the stamp that it's critical information, and so we have to go back and redact that information out. Sensitive information, go back and redact it off.
What about for you as the district clerk, like if you see something that comes through a case where you know the person, how can you recuse yourself from that?
Yes, I'll simply tell my chief deputy or anything like that hey, I know this person, and you could see on our system, you could be able to tell who logs in and looks at each case. So they'll be able to pull the record and to say that I haven't, I didn't do anything or anything to do with that case.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit more about the education and requirements for a district clerk. Now, earlier in the podcast, you said that you receive a district clerk book or binder?
Manual.
Mm-hmm. Do you get that before you're elected or after?
Well, I started reading this one when I was running for the office because I wanted to make sure that I understood and would be able to meet the qualifications that go within the office. To get a sense, like I said, if you're going to run for something, just like when you're preparing a job interview, you need to do some background on the company that you're trying to work for. So I did some background on this position. So yeah, we have a manual and it's electronic. I mean, we got one that's written, but it's thick, but it's electronic, and type in what you need to find. But they constantly update that manual. When we have a new law that changes or something, procedure that changes, the manual is then updated for everyone.
Okay. And that's available for anyone that
anyone
wants...
can look on there and see.
And see that. Okay. How important are communication and interpersonal skills in this job?
Critical. Because, and my thing is I tell my coworkers, I said, hey, if you actually look at things, you're here more with your work family than your family at home, awake hours, because we're here, from 7:30 to 4:30. And, by the time you get home and take care of the kids and do your thing, it's 9 o'clock and you're going to bed and you're waking up coming back in here. I said, so it's very good to have interpersonal skill and communication skills. One of the things I tell when we first getting ready to hire somebody, I said, I don't care about the knowledge because we could teach you how to do the job. But I want to make sure that you are a personality fit within the office because that's very important.
And how do you determine that before you hire them?
Well, you look at their resume, you sit down and have interviews with them. You look on their Facebook, if they have a Facebook. You go back and try to get as much background as you can. You look at their references, and if it's somebody you know or whatever, you call the references and ask them what type of person was this, are they, and things like that. But a lot of it is just you have to get through that process in the interview. And we try to make the interview as formally informal as we can, because we want the prospective employee to be comfortable. The more comfortable you are, the easier you are to get across things, and the easier you're to kind of show your real personality. Because everybody gears up for the interview, and you're sitting there nervous and you're real structured. But we try to open it up. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What things do you like to do? What hobbies do you have? Things like that. Try to get comfortable so we can actually get to know the person that we're interviewing.
And is that what formally informal would look like?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's formal, it's an interview.
Right.
But we're being informal with our questions and how we're going about things, and sit down and relax, and
How do you handle, because I feel like just like listening to all of the things that you do here and your coworkers do, that it can be and probably is really stressful. How do you handle that?
It is. I mean, every job is stressful. I mean, but you have your days where funny things happen, and you kind of laugh at it. And, if you're stressed out, we always tell people, hey, sometimes, you need to take a stress day just for yourself. Don't tell your family that you're off. Take off. You may want to do a spa day or something else. Or you just may want to go shopping or whatever you may want to do. You may just want to go sit at Riverfront Park for 8 hours and just relax. I said, we try to encourage, because the mental health of people are very important. Especially with the stigmatism of mental health and people reaching out. And thank God the county has a program where they allow you to get 6 free visits with a counselor if you're dealing with stress, family issues, anything like that. They can hook you up with a therapist or whatever kind of program that you need to help you out. So that's a great thing that the county provides for the employees. But, we always encourage, if you're having a rough day, if something's going on, let us know. We're here for you. We're here to support you, and we're going to be with you throughout the process of whatever you need to get done.
How does teamwork look as far as you as district clerk, your coworkers, when working with the judges and the lawyers? How does that teamwork or the relationship happen?
Well, it's pretty important, and the good thing is usually since you're elected, some of the judges came in at the same time I did, and so on that election trail you get to know the judges. You get to know them, you meet and greet them, and especially with the district judges, they were all attorneys before, so you probably had some interaction with them prior to them getting to that bench. And so, but we always stress teamwork makes the dream work, every time. So teamwork is stressed great, and we always try to cross-train our coworkers. So, can tell them what may happen. We could have someone with a death in their family, and someone's on vacation, and someone gets sick. And so all of a sudden you're going from a full department to maybe only 2 or 3. So we need people in other departments to help kick in and help them out.
Okay. The people in the other departments, do you have to deputize them to come in? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What about priorities? Because I feel like every lawyer, every judge, every person that comes here or calls or sends an email, like their thing is a priority. This is most important. I need it yesterday.
Correct.
How do you determine the priority?
Well, on the outside, everyone is a priority.
Yes.
And I'll tell people, even though we're a government entity, we are customer service first. That's our main thing. So on the outside, everyone thinks they're a priority, and we're going to treat you as a priority. And then once we take it, then we'll prioritize it how it needs to go, behind the scenes.
Yes.
But when you come in, and the main thing I tell them, be empathetic with our customers. Be empathetic with their needs, because put yourself in their shoes on the other side of that counter. And you may not be privy to the law, understand everything that's going on, and you're in a panic and you're nervous. Sometimes when people are unsure or scared, they come off kind of hostile. And I don't think they mean to. It's just, they don't know what's going on. And, I got to have this filed by this date, and I don't know what to do. And, we're not lawyers. We can't give you legal advice, but we do help you through the process of what's going on. And we always tell people, just be empathetic. Try to put yourself in their shoes, and sometimes the best thing, if they need to vent, just let them talk, and wait till they finish, and then don't try to intercede while they're talking because they're going to think you're interrupting them, and then they're going to get more upset than what they already are. Just let them talk. You know, we take hostile phone calls. You know, when they call, I want to speak to the district clerk. Okay, get on the phone, and they'll ramble off for about 10 minutes, and then I'll, you know, go in and say what I have to say, and like, oh, okay, you know. But sometimes they just need to get it off their chest.
Right. So you wait for them to take a breath.
Wait for them to take a breath and get it out, and then you know it's like, because sometimes they'll tell they'll tell them the same thing that I'm telling them, but you know they didn't let them get it out. They didn't let them, and I'll let them get it out. Hey, if you want to go ahead and 10, 15 minutes nonstop, go ahead. I'm here listening. Yes, and then you know we talk to them.
What challenges, besides the people, because I feel like people will always be a challenge, what challenges do you face here as district clerk and with your coworkers?
Well, I think, you know, personnel is always an issue. And, you know, you treat everybody as equal, but there's always some certain circumstances that are extraordinary in a person's life and things that happen. You just got to be understanding. And like I said, the main thing I try to do is be compassionate and try to build a family-first atmosphere. And I tell we're all a family. And just like a family, you may not love one another, you know, but we're going to work together and we're going to help our fellow family member out. You know, if you know they could be under stress for whatever reason, a husband, daughter, or a child are going through some issues, and you know we're going to be there to uplift them and hold them up and pray for them and hope everything works out and do what we can. But you know, personnel is always the biggest thing, because if you look at it, you know, in a personnel decision, if you have to let someone go, it's not just affecting that person, but it's affecting that person and their family and their livelihood and things like that. But I always tell them, you know, as much as I care and I'm compassionate, the needs of the job outweigh anything else, and that you always got to put first. You know,
is that hard?
It is,
especially when you've established a relationship with them.
It's very difficult. I think the hardest thing in the world is when you have to let someone go. But you know,
it's part of it.
It's part of it.
Do they train you on that? Because they need to.
No, I guess throughout, I don't know, throughout my military career, I taught school, I worked for the sheriff's department, I worked downstairs, and I guess like I tell people, they talk about, you know, leadership qualities and, you know, how to be a good leader. I said, well, what I did, I took what I learned from the people that I wanted to emulate, and the people that I don't like, I took that element out, and then you just make your own leadership style. I try to be, I'm very open with my coworkers when there's something going down on the pike during budget year or things like that. I don't believe in hoarding knowledge as a way of controlling your coworkers. Something goes on, we put it out there. You know, hey, we're gonna have a meeting. This is what's going on. You know, So you know, I don't want them hearing it from someone else. Like, oh, such and such, you didn't know. Like, no, you know, then they start losing trust in you.
Right. You know, one thing I was thinking about when you were talking about what you learn or what you don't learn from other people, you know, they say with every person they will teach you what to do or what not to do.
Correct.
Yes, and then it's up to you to determine
exactly
which road to follow. What about time management? Well,
you know, we always try to say that, hey, from 7:30 to 4:30, you think of work, but after 4:31, you concentrate on home. Don't, you know, leave work alone. And I always tell them this adage that one of my professors talked to us about when I was at Lamar doing my master's program. He says a little boy, he would see his dad leave for work. And he said there was a tree outside the house. So on his dad's way to walk to the car, he would go to the tree and rub on the leaves. Then he'd get in his car and leave. When he come back, he would park his car, he would go back to that tree and rub on the leaves, and then he would come on in the house. So he said it kept going on for several, you know, months, and the kid finally said, well, Dad, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, what are you doing to the tree outside? He said, well, when I leave to go to work, son, I leave my family troubles on that tree. I go to work, and when I come back from work, I leave my work troubles on that tree. Wow. And I'll pick it up in the next morning. So I think that's why, and I've preached that to it. That's how we should handle it. Hey, once you leave, don't worry about work. You know, you'll be back the next day, or you'll be back Monday. You know, enjoy your time, your family time. Enjoy whatever relaxation thing that you like to do.
Right. Is there anything tangible that you tell your coworkers as far as leave the troubles at home or leave the troubles at work?
Yeah, I mean, because we talk about, I don't know, when we sit down and talk at our office meetings, I always tell them, I said, the good thing, what I learned, and first I couldn't understand. Sometimes when you're dealing with things at home, you don't want to go to work, but then you see some people that want to go to work, and the reason they want to go because when they come to work, they can forget about their troubles at home.
Yes.
And I said, that's what you should do. Now, if you need to talk about that, I have an open door. You talk to me, you can talk to the chief deputy, you can talk to human resources, or they have this program that you can talk to someone if you need to, talk to someone. If not, leave your troubles at home. Let it go. Come to work. Do your 8 hours, and that may give you time to mentally reset. Relax, straighten out the situation you have, what you want to do, and then you can go home and tackle the problem.
Okay. Shoot, that is excellent advice, but I feel like we all need a tree.
We should. We do.
We all need a tree. Okay, Jamie, I am getting ready to wrap up this podcast, but you have been amazing.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So
I've enjoyed
amazing.
it.
Okay, what is your intention in this space of being an elected official as district clerk for Jefferson County?
Well, I want to continue modernizing our office. We're in the transition process now. We're bringing our family law people, going to be in that space. I don't know if you see that open space back there.
Okay.
We're moving them down there so we can all be under one roof. I kind of feel like they feel like the secondary kids down there, as opposed to being with everybody else. I want everybody under one roof. But I just want to pray to keep doing a good job. If I find ways to save the county money, we'll utilize that. If I find new ways to make the county some revenue, we'll do that, and just keep improving on the things that we have. We keep improving on our IRGER, we keep improving on our passports and the way that we file and things like that, and to continue to work out in the community. I think that's very, very important, to be a presence in the community, not just oh yeah, they see you here at the courthouse, but when people see you out in the community, they're going to talk to you. You can learn a lot of things about them. They see that you want to give back. I think that's very, very important.
Was that something your predecessors did, was be out in the community, volunteering, being seen?
I didn't really see that much. I think this is something while I was on city council, because I started organizing neighborhood cleanups and things like that and volunteering. I think so that just carried over, from when I took this office to continue to want to do that. Because I enjoy it. I'm right now I'm in the ROAR program. So I go to some of the schools and read to the kids as guest reader to several of the schools when they ask me. Like I said, then we volunteer for other events. I just think it's very important to give back.
My final question for you, Mr. Smith, who do you think would make a great guest on the podcast, but you have to help me get them on?
Judge Mitch Templeton.
Okay, and tell us a little bit about him.
Well, he's, what was he like, the last cycle? Or the cycle before that? Great guy. Really learned a lot from him. Very knowledgeable of the law. He likes to sit there and explain things to the people, so they're not just ruling from the bench. He's explaining what he's doing, and I think that he'll just be a great person to get some insight on that civil side, because he's a civil judge of the law, and a little bit of his background and things like that.
Excellent. I agree. I'm excited. I've spoken with Judge Templeton. I'm excited to have him on and learn from him. That's going to be a great interview. But thank you.
Thank you
so much. I literally had no idea what you did here, but now, I completely understand it. I understand what goes on here. So thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And everything you do for Jefferson County.
Thank you.
And to my viewers and to my listeners, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. You can get Jamie Smith's podcast on YouTube Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. And remember, you always have time to listen and learn on the go.
Come on, let's go on a journey. Sit back, buckle up, enjoy the ride with Crystal Petry.